Okay.
Okay, I'm Jimmy. I'm the bass player.
My name's Paul, and I'm one of the guitarists.
My name is Matt. I'm one of the guitarists in Storm of Crows.
Storm of Crows?
Storm of Crows.
We have this unusual history. We haven't just formed. Well, we have, but not for the first time.
Matt and I met at high school in 1990.
Me, Paul and Jimmy were all originally in a band called West Tangleyam that formed about 1996, 97 when we were all 19, 20 years old, something like that. It started with 3 guitarists, which is always an ideal start for a band.
And the name came from the makes of our guitars. So I think Dave had a Westfield, Matt had a Tanglewood, and I had a Yamaha, so we put them together in West Tangleyam.
No, we were well aware that we needed a bass player and a drummer.
Up until then, I'd been playing a couple of years, but up until then I'd only been playing with myself in my room. That sounded cleaner in my head.
We were just playing Beatles tunes and in Matt's spare room and torturing his poor mum to death with all the racket that we made.
I joined a lot later than the others. West Tangleyam was already well established.
I think when we formed the band, we all had the idea we were going to make it big, we were going to make it famous, and we were pretty bad.
It was a bit of a learning curve because I never really played with anybody else. Again, that sounded cleaner in my head. But they were very patient.
But from that time, we wrote songs.
I think Matt and I wrote most of the material at that point. There wasn't many, there was a few. And some that you're quite proud of and some that you're not so proud of.
We played a couple of gigs at a local pub called the White Lion, which was terrifying, really was.
And there was a huge rehearsal room upstairs, and the landlord, Billy, he let us use it for pretty much for nothing, really, on the proviso that we played a few gigs for him. I think we got the better deal because I think the 2 gigs we did for him weren't great.
I strongly suspect that the only reason we got a second gig at the White Lion is because the landlord of the pub wasn't there during the first one to hear how bad we were. Suffice to say, after he heard us at the second gig, we never played there again.
How the hell we didn't empty the place, I'll never know.
So West Tangleyam, the band, didn't last too long, a couple of years, and then I don't really know what happened to it.
We played together for 2 years, but as you know, often happens, you get a little older and other things start to get in the way.
And so by the time 2000 came around, it pretty much all fizzled out.
Before you knew it, you weren't playing together anymore, which was quite sad.
We all stopped playing and we got on with our lives.
3 of us all stayed in touch from a distance, and I think the last time the 3 of us together before we reformed this year was 2005 at Matt's wedding.
I don't think me and Jimmy particularly thought about music for 15 years or so. I still picked up my acoustic guitar and strummed a bit, but I always wanted to be back in a band again. I never really had any expectation it'd happen. I think Paul kept in more than anyone else. He kept playing. I think he's played with his dad and he's done all sorts of things. I don't think he ever stopped writing music, but me and Jimmy certainly did.
But 2018, Matt sent me a link to SoundCloud with some recordings that he'd found from 1998 of one of the rehearsals that we did at the White Lion.
Matt dug up all the old tapes. We always used to record every practice session with an old tape recorder.
Surprisingly, listening again, I found these recordings of our old songs. They stood up. They were okay songs. They weren't all... I mean, there was some proper crap in there. Some real dreadful, cringeworthy stuff, like even when we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, you guys are never going to hear those songs.
And just listening to that, it brought a lot of memories back. And you just think, it'd be great to do that again.
He was pretty determined that he could come out with some brilliant, definitive, if you like, editions of the songs that we'd played when we were kids.
But then that brings us to this year.
COVID hit and lockdown was forced on us, and
I could have another go at this. Dug out one of our songs. I played all the parts with middling success, and quite enjoyed it. I was very proud of it at the time. This was a few months ago, and now I hate it. But for the second song, I thought I can't keep playing bass.
So it was only a matter of time before me and Paul got wind of it, and of course the general consensus was not without us, you're not. We wanted in.
He was saying he was re-recording one of our old songs with Jimmy, and that they were going to do another one, and did I fancy getting involved? So immediately I said, yeah, of course I would. Yeah, I'd love to. And that next song was what became Upon Us.
To be able to do this again is an absolute joy.
You know, if you ask Matt and Jimmy, both of them will pretty much say that I'm the soft one.
Paul is the mushiest. He's like a big wet sponge.
Paul's definitely the mushiest out of the lot of us. Don't let him convince you otherwise.
I'm quite mushy.
All our communication these days is over Facebook Messenger, so we can't really tell if or when he's crying, but every so often he gives us a, "Oh, thank you guys, it's so great being back together in the band," and you can just tell. Tears splashing on the keyboard.
He's often said just how lovely it is to be back together and playing again, but the truth of the matter is I think we all needed this to a degree.
Just purely because I've said how much I've loved doing this, and you know how good it's been to be writing music and playing music.
He's right. It's a wonderful thing to be back. People out there have already told us that they enjoy our music. We have people who have voluntarily paid for music that we've made, and that's just an amazing feeling. You can't beat that.
I think we're all grateful actually, and we're all happy to be together in one form or another doing this again.
Yeah, we've got friends on social media who listen to our stuff, and it's just the best bit of social media is this indie music corner that we've fallen into, and I can't believe it's taken us this long, but now we're here. I hope you like us, because God, you're not going to get rid of us. So thank you for having us.
In my humble opinion, I think long may it continue. I hope it lasts forever, I really do.